You can drop your pin on Facebook, let everyone know that you're rocking it out at CC, right? All right, awesome. We'll go right into it. Well, we have a special thing coming up for our young people in the house. So ages 13 and up, we'll be doing a special chat and challenging them in purity. All right, so we'd love for you to support that. We're going to have it on a Wednesday coming up, so just keep your ears tuned to that. We will send out a text message letting you know the date and time, so you can come out and be a part of it. All right. All right. Next thing coming up, we have a few new opportunities to reach out and connect with your community. So if you are interested in making an impact within your environment, around your neighborhood, in your school system, connect with us at the Black Tent. We'd love to put you a part of that. We want to make a difference here, all right? Yeah, you guys want to do the change? Right. Yeah. All right, awesome. All right, so if you have a wonderful voice and you just have all this energy you want to give, we'd love for you to make that a part of our choir. We will be starting rehearsals very soon. So if you want to make a joyful noise unto the Lord, we'd love to make you be a part of that. Again, stop at the Black Tent where we can let you know the dates and times of the choir rehearsal. And as that is happening, we are preparing for our Easter production. It's just around the corner, y'all. Easter's here. In 3 days, it grows. So we're getting ready for that and pumping up for that whole time. So if you'd like to be a part of that production, if you want to help build the sets or set things up and, maybe do makeup, let us know. We'd love to be a part of that. It's going to be a great time. We're getting ready for a big Easter weekend, all right? Awesome. Well, can everyone say March 10th? March 10th. Awesome. Congress Church is going on the road, CC on the road. We are going to celebrate with KC3, it's one of our sister churches, at 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock? All right, 4 o'clock. All right. We have directions for you at the Black Tent if you want to put it in your GPS early. But again, March 10th, CC on the road. As always, stay connected on our website. It's conquerorschurch.org. Visit it at least once a week. There's always new things happening there. All the dates and information is there, as always. Every Wednesday, we get together at 5:30 a.m. for morning glory. And then at 7, we get together for... Y'all not coming to midweek Philip. So you get empty, come around Thursday, kids start getting on your nerves, but you ain't coming to midweek Philip. Your girls can't go last all month now. So every Wednesday at 7 o'clock, we come together for midweek Philip. We get recharged, we get excited, we can face the world until Sunday. Amen. So join us every week. Are you guys ready for this last edition of Relation Chat? I want to know, how do you speak your love? This is how I need love. So we're excited today. It's all about love languages. We are challenging our young people in youth church to learn how to speak love to their parents and how to receive love from their parents, all right? So this week, talk to them about it in the car. Maybe take some time to, think about how they're receiving love and how you can give it to them, all right? We love you guys. Ready? Ready for service? All right, love you guys.
Praise the Lord. Can I sing a little song, everybody?
All right, man.
I'm not. Thank you. Paula, give me a high five. Thank you. Because you're the only one that said, all right. The rest of y'all just sitting there like, please, Pastor, don't, please. Did you see that? They thought that went by me. But my main man is going to help me. Down through the years. Come on, everybody. God's been good. Has he been good to you? Come on and say it. Down. There you go. Come on. God's been good. You know it down. Come on, everybody. God's been good. You know that God has been good to me. Come on. Say it again. Down through the years. Down. If he's been good, lift your hands right there and say, he has been. For he has done great things. Come on, say it. For he has done. There you go, come on, declare it. Put it in the atmosphere. For he has done. Bless his holy name. Clap your hands and celebrate the Lord. Hallelujah. You might be seated in his presence. I hear it in my spirit. He has done great things. Amen. I don't care what's happening. I don't care how the situation may look. How many know God is still on the throne? I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. You know what that means? God's gonna make a way somehow. Do me a favor, witness with three people near you, tell them he's gonna make a way somehow. Problem with some of us, we try to figure out how he's gonna make it out. How he's gonna make a way. But God wants us to be in a place where we don't try to figure it out. We just know he's gonna work it out. Amen. Praise the name of the Lord. Thank you, Paula, for encouraging me today to sing my song. God is so good. I'm so glad to have my friend, my partner in ministry, my love of my life. I thank God for Lady L, everybody. Miss Sam. Praise the name of the Lord. Amen. We're super excited for what the Lord is doing. Listen, family, let me put this in the atmosphere before we go further to all of our guests. Come on, clap it up for all of our visitors today. We're guests here today. I'm super excited for you joining us today. We know it wasn't my chance, but rather by the divine purpose of the Lord, that you would let us be with us here today. And here's what I'd love for you to do, if you would. It's on the screen right here. If you would text this word, CC Welcome, to 90407. And I need to let you know something. We're going to upgrade this pretty soon. It's going to be a full number, because here's what we really want to do. We want to be able to send you, amen, other information. We can be a little more, amen, expanded in our reach. Amen. But it all starts with this. If you would do that for us, please. CC Welcome 90407. We believe no one needs to be alone in their walk with God. Look at somebody and say, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Amen. Don't do it. Believers without a church, amen, are no match for the enemy. Amen. You need a church family. Say amen to me. We would love to be, amen, one of those churches you check out and eventually become a part of. Amen? Well, listen, family, haven't we enjoyed this series, Relation Check? Have you enjoyed it? Amen? Oh, my Lord, what a lesson it is. I'm super excited, amen, for this man of God. He has literally been a blessing, not only to our church, but I found out the other day, amen, we've got churches far and near that are watching, amen, our feed. Amen. Praise God for our musicians, everyone. I'm certainly praising God for them. Amen. But they're watching our live feed on our social media streams, and welcome to all of those that are joining us today. Amen. But he's been a blessing in this relation chat series. It's certainly cutting edge, if you will. Amen. When we just sit down, let's talk it out. Amen. We're entering into our final installment today. But here's what I'm doing right now, if you would. I need to remind you, don't leave. Everybody say it loud. Say, don't leave before you sow. If you've been blessed by his ministry, I want you to set your heart, as he's been a blessing to us. Scripture says to muzzle not the ox. You know what that means? Don't limit his reach. Whether we believe it or not, money helps ministry. Say amen. Some folks, I think that they stated wrong. They say, oh, you need money for ministry. Not necessarily, because favor can go further than money. Amen. But you need some money. Amen. And so we want to be a blessing to his ministry. By the way, guys, He is a licensed physician. And he's serving, amen, well under what he could be getting. Amen. And so, come on, clap it up and celebrate him, everybody, at this time. I want you to set your heart, and you're going to be able to do that in the ways that we give here. You can do that, amen, and be a blessing to him. Let me take this moment before we move further and tell you about next month. OMG. I'm super excited about this one because we're entering into, amen, a sermon series. Now, while a number of churches, amen, were charged up, and even in our New Year's that started, we're supercharged. We got all our resolutions, and we're going to do this, and we're going to take it by force. We're going to do something. We're going to number of things. Praise God. We tend to fizzle out around about this time. We abandoned that workout schedule we had. It's okay. We're going to get free today, all of us, because look at me. I'm developing, and I don't even drink. I got a little bit. Where did this come from? Loose it! Pulling down strongholds. Casting down imaginations. Praise the Lord. So listen, I'm so excited about this. We have, I should say, a special guest going to join us. Amen. In this, amen, sermon series, it's going to be amazing. She is a lifestyle coach in the mastering level. She is ministered, if you will. She's supposed to, let me say, she's saved. Amen. Spirit-filled, and I'm certainly praising God for someone on that level. She has been at Ford Motor Company, Chrysler, doing things on a number of levels in corporate America, Fortune 500 companies, amen, sharing the lifestyle. But here's the sermon series titled, The God Kind of Success. There is a success. The Bible says that it lasts for a season. There's a worldly version of success, but it's temporary. It's temporary, I should say. Amen. It doesn't last that long. God's success. The Bible says his blessings make it what? Come on, talk back to me. That what? Make it rich and addeth no sorrow. So she has discovered, and she's going to share that with us, guys. Her name, amen, is Coach Kimberly Bond. She's going to be with us all next month. It's going to be amazing. Totally a life-changing session. Do me a favor, invite your friends, loved ones, family, tell them to be here for this game-changing series. Will you do that for us, please? Do me a favor, and let's welcome our therapist, the Dr. Clifford Clark, as he's coming again. We love him, amen. Bless you, man of God. Amen. We're going to bless him, see his information there. Amen, on the screen. Friends, I'm so excited to have, amen, good friends of ours. We've watched them throughout the years, amen, as they have served the ministry, served as assistant and associate pastors, pastor, if you will, amen, various ministries, and the Lord has called, amen, them, amen, to a newer level, amen. They're not in the senior pastorate yet, I don't believe, amen. We've been trying to push them in that vein because it's just on them. But I'm praising God because they offer, amen. And one of the things, let me say this real quick, I appreciate because he embraces what he's called to do. Amen. Can I just say this real quick? Stop trying to be what somebody else wants you to be. All right, now come back. That's why I really appreciate him. Amen. He and his wife, they have a ministry that ministers to couples. Amen. That ministers to couples, and it's called Run the Race. Amen. Amen. Now you got to help me with the correct pronunciation. It's Tay, right? It is Tay. See, I got it. Will you help me welcome Pastor James and Tay Hayes, everybody? Come on, clap it up for them. They're going to join us in this. Yes, you guys will see. I believe the microphone is live. Right? Amen. It's live. Of course, guys, you know what's going to be happening here. Amen. We're going to talk about our last subject, amen, of this month. But guys, I was so excited. How many want a requel, a part 2 of this? This is kind of a blessing, amen. Amen. We've been hearing that, as we say. And so we've enjoyed the Lord in this series, but I am just thankful for this final piece, amen, as we're going to be discussing, guys, and talking about the love languages. Heard we talk about this. It's an amazing book. If you've not gotten that book, amen, you need to get it. Maybe we need to put that on our crew list. I'm looking at my crew director. Amen. It's called The 5 Love Languages. The 5 Love Languages by Dr. Gary Chapman. Amazing material. But I'm grateful for Dr. Clifford Clark being here because he's going to. And one thing I really appreciate about him, he gives it in digestible sizes. Amen? Easy to attain right away. And so, Dr. Clark, let's start with you by talking about what are the love languages. How about you take it?
Absolutely. Good morning, everybody. The 5 love languages, as Gary Chapman outlines them in his book, 5 Love Languages, and if you haven't gotten a copy of it, I highly recommend it. Even if you're not in a marriage or relationship, I think it's good, practical, competent, relational information that is applicable for anybody in any place in the spectrum of relationships. So please do get it. But the 5 love languages, as he outlines them, are acts of service, which is I receive. So that the love languages themselves is how do you receive love? We start there. How do you receive love? When someone is trying to express love to you, how do you best receive love? How many of us know that just because someone tries to express something to us one way, doesn't mean we receive it that way?
That's true.
We know that? All right, so the concept of the love languages is what is my language, if you will, of love? And it has many, the 5 love languages themselves aren't necessarily comprehensive, but it's just 5 ways that he's kind of condensed the concept of love and how we express it. So the first one we mentioned is acts of service. And the concept there is when I receive an act of service done for me or on my behalf, then I register that as an act of love toward me.
Yeah.
Act of service. That might be cutting my grass for me. That might be doing the dishes for me. That might be doing some laundry. That may be picking up some dry cleaning. That's an act of service. The second is what we call quality time. Quality time. When we spend quality time, when you spend quality time with me, then I understand that this is an effort or gesture of your love to me. So I receive that quality time. The third is what we call words of affirmation. Words of affirmation. When I affirm you verbally, when I celebrate you, I do an exercise with my couples in marriage counseling called See It, Say It, and Celebrate It. See it, say it, celebrate it. So you might say that this gentleman here, she may say that's a nice blazer that you have on. So she sees it first, then she says it, that's nice, and then she celebrates it by maybe touching him or touching it. See it, say it, celebrate. There you go. She does it a lot better than I do, that's for sure.
Say it one more time.
See it, say it, celebrate. She does it a lot better than I do. There you go. Amen. So,
hey, wait a minute, over here, what's on? No, I'm just
So acts of service, quality time, words of affirmation, affirming the person, congratulating them. You did a great job with cutting the lawn. Man, you made this kitchen look marvelous. Oh my goodness, that's a word of affirmation. You really look good in X, Y, and Z. All right. The third, or the fourth, I should say, is gifts. Gifts, and a lot of us, we got to unpack that one a little bit, because what happens is, some of us can consider that to be kind of gold digging or having a fixation on material things, and it's not so much as that as it is the sentiments behind the gifts.
Yes.
All right? So in other words, it could be, you could get me a brand new Movado watch, or you could get me, you could write me a card, a letter, a page letter that expresses how you feel, but the gift of that represents the sentiment. So it's not so much on, the emphasis is not so much on the item itself as it is the sentiment attached to the gift. So to be thoughtful about the gift. The last one that I didn't mention is physical touch. Thank you, sir. Physical touch. Physical touch. When you physically touch me, I register that as love. When I am physically engaged by you. And that's not necessarily just sexual. But it's also, it's affection. So you can touch someone physically without actually engaging in sexually. It might just be petting of the hand, or a hand on the knee, a hand on the shoulder, just to represent that we're here. I'm here with you. We're touching, we're agreeing, we're connected. And so those are the concepts, in broad stroke, of the 5 love languages.
Awesome. And so, James, if I can, and Tay, can you guys talk a little bit about potentially on each one of the, not necessarily each one, but let's say it like this. Which one would you key in on, have you discovered you key in on in your relationship the most?
You want to kick it off or you
Well, I mean, since we're here, we might as well go there, right? So, in our years of perusing the book, and we went through the book early on in the stages of our marriage, I was shocked to find out that mine was physical touch. And a lot of people would be like, that probably would be the man.
Right,
Physical
exactly.
touch. And I was like, no, that was me. That was me all day. So little things like, James, I just need you to just be here. That's it. That's all you gotta do. That's it. And I feel loved. And a lot of people would say, well, that ain't much. I mean, he really ain't did nothing. But his presence, just like the presence of God, you gotta feel it. Just his presence of being there. And anything that I was going through, anything that I may have needed, just knowing that he was somewhere near, I was good. And don't get me wrong, all of them are important. We just had to key in on the ones that weighed the most. Which one tickled my fancy the most? So that really, I'm okay. I know he loved me. He tell me he loved me. That's good. But the shoulder, just the lean at the shoulder.
Yeah.
That's all I needed. So that was the one that weighed the most. However, we do try to be mindful and keep a good balance of the rest of the tank, the rest of the languages, because I think they all are necessary and have proven over the years that you just gotta gauge that thing. You gotta ask, hey, how am I doing in this area? You good? All right, Jack, you look nice. I'm saying it. Celebrate it.
So hers is, she just told you hers. Mine is words of affirmation. And I didn't know that until we had to work that thing out. And I found out that all men,
That's
way
right.
God has wired our thing.
That's right.
Man, here it is, ladies. If you want to jack up your boyfriend, your husband, your boo thing, your one thing, or your potential thing, attack his manhood.
Wow.
The moment we feel that we're not necessary or in some way our manhood is threatened, you almost borderline have lost us. So we found out that words of affirmation, I could have dropped 15 balls in a relationship, meaning things I should have done. But there's one thing I did well. She did a wonderful job of honoring the one ball I held. And she has a way of cussing me out, but I didn't know I got cussed out until like 5 months later. Which I want to lead to something else in a minute. But she honors the one ball, so therefore she did it so well, it made me want to hold another ball so that she will affirm the second ball I held.
Right.
So this is what I've learned. We can do the 5 love languages. I thank him for kind of narrowing that down for us. But God kind of put some principles on that thing and says, whichever language you have, you better have some patience with it. And you better seek the good thing in it. You better not put no cost on it. Don't count no cost on it. He gives us languages or the principle of how love should look like. There should be some patience. Love is kind. Love is gentle. So regardless of what language you use, you better use his principles as you use the language that you deal with, because you can talk the language or be active in the language, but don't have no peace in it.
Amen. Amen.
You ain't kind with it.
Right.
You still jack that thing up. Last thing I want to say is, I found out about my wife is 2 things I got to study: the Word of God and my wife.
Amen.
Let me tell you something. The same woman I pursue is not the same woman I'm married to. The same woman I pursued when we got married, player, she changed. That ain't bad. But then when she got pregnant, she changed. But then when she had the baby, she changed. Postpartum. But then after the baby grew up and she got a handle on it, she changed. Then life hit her body and different things we had to struggle with. Life happened.
Amen.
Then all of a sudden she had personal vacations. You know what that is. Then she changed.
Amen.
I had to find a way, even though she has physical touch, some days that ain't her language.
Amen.
That means I personally gotta always be in tune to when she switches up on her language. Did that make sense?
Amen.
All that means is you gotta constantly communicate every day as y'all both change.
Amen.
Allow me to share that it took me a while to learn my language without even knowing about the material. For me, what I needed was to be affirmed. And Lydia was the best at it and remains the best at it. Simply what you said. Just knew how to inspire and encourage me right when I know I've made major mistakes and fumbled. She knew how to dig out the one qualified thing I did, the one good thing I did out of the whole disaster. She knew how to pull that right up and out of there. So I really appreciate you sharing that. Dr. Clark, if I can, come in real quick and allow you, lady, I'm sorry, babe, you want to say something? So I want to talk about this because, you know, it's the narrative or the context I guess I'm going to is I didn't know. I like to think I was a pretty intelligent dude, kind of understand a few things here and there. But the fact is I didn't know. Early on, I know for sure I damaged my marriage. I didn't know. Can you talk a little bit about and unpack why is it so important that we really understand our love language?
Very great question, and I was hoping you would go there, so that's divine. It's important to know your love language, in part, if you would, how many of us were here for week one when we talked about intimacy?
Sure.
All right, for those of you who weren't, I'll just kind of...
We too, no, but go ahead.
Was it two?
I think it was two.
That's right, thank you,
Yeah.
because we did communication with one. Week two, we talked about the importance of emotional intelligence in intimacy. And this is right in keeping with the love languages. It's important to know your love language because you can't show anybody a room in your house that you haven't been in yourself.
Amen.
Sweet Jesus, sweet Jesus.
If you do show them that room, it'll be a surprise to both of you if you don't know it. Okay? And so this concept of the love languages and it being imperative to know it is, I'll use myself for example. Years ago when I was an undergrad, you know, the dating scene, you're hanging out with friends from church after church, people are cooking and different things. So my love language is acts of service. And I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So what would happen is you'd have friends over, girls cooking, and people, you know, just hanging over at the house. And some young ladies were kind of sweet on me, and so they would offer to cook or to wash my clothes or to, you know, do different things, clean the house and stuff like that. And so in my immaturity, I would allow some of that stuff to happen, even for women who I wasn't attracted to.
Wow.
And so what happened is I looked up and I started getting feelings for people I didn't even like. And so I'm looking up and I'm like, why am I feeling this way? Because she was folding my clothes. Why am I looking at this woman who I know I am not aesthetically attracted to? Why am I reconsidering this? Because she was cooking meals that had me hallucinating. Why her house? I was on the couch. Hit her car. Wait a minute. I'm talking about so, you know, who was that? I'm hearing voices. It was that food that she gave. But the thing was, it was doing something. But what was happening was I didn't have a competency of my own love language. And so I didn't know that. You can set the love language aside for a second, go back to intimacy. I didn't know that that was a way to my heart. That expressed intimacy, that made me vulnerable. I didn't know that.
Wow.
So now, what ends up happening is she's in a room in my house that I never gave her intentional access to.
My Lord.
And I didn't even know that room was in my house. So now we're both surprised, and we're being intimate. It's illicit because it's not authorized intentionally. And now you got complicated situations. Now she's in a relationship with me, and I'm not in one with her.
Hello? Hello, lights.
So the pastor just talked about it, boundaries. You have to, the value of knowing your own love language or knowing what accesses your heart is so critical, because not only is it important for you to be able to let somebody love you when you want to, but it's also important for you to not let somebody love you in that way when you don't want them in that door. Maybe you're not in a place in your life where you're healthy enough to entertain an emotionally responsible, romantic, contextual relationship.
It's risky, yeah.
It's risky. So if you don't know that, then you can be like a bull in a china shop, tearing up everything. And it's an accident. Now both of y'all in love, y'all sleeping together, there's stuff going on, and I didn't mean to do that. So now you got good intent, but bad impact.
Jesus.
Good intention, bad impact. So that's one of the things that's very important of it. Yeah, it gives you the ability to command, to control who accesses your heart. You should be the only person that's in control of who gets to your heart. You should be in control of that.
Wow, that blessing. Is that blessing anybody right there? So, how long do you think it took you to discover James's love language? Because you share yours, but how long did it take for you to discover James? Because then I'm gonna come to James and say, how long did it take for you to discover Taze?
We had a little bit of a blessing that we knew each other before. So we were friends before, and we're very observant of each other.
Talk a little bit about that, just real quick. How long did you guys know each other prior to marriage?
We grew up in the same church.
Okay.
Didn't really care for each other. He just was this athletic guy, and we were very competitive. I was a better athlete than he was. But we realized that
Affirmation.
yeah, we were able to talk things over and work stuff out. But just watching him over the years of how he responded to other relationships.
Okay.
So I had a sneak preview and didn't really know that it was a sneak preview for me. But I did see how he responded to how people built him up. So those words of affirmation made sense even when we took the test and we went through the counseling and the pre-engagement counseling that we took, very seriously because we were friends first. And exploring that land was just different for us. It was different because we were the ones talking each other through relationships. So us getting in one was just very different. But it took a while to actually realize that I needed to give more of the words of affirmation because of how I was used to receiving the love and being conditioned to give it that way. You have to overdo it sometimes, especially if you're not used to building somebody up like that. In previous relationships, I wasn't, as I look back, I wasn't the biggest, oh, good job, that's wonderful, awesome, no, you look great today. I wasn't big on that at all because it just wasn't a priority and I didn't take things as seriously. So when I valued it, I started to invest in it. And he would hear more of the words. And before he even knew that it was his language, I was giving that language to him. So probably over the years, but into the relationship portion, probably about a good 2 years.
Okay.
Good 2 years.
All right.
Good 2 years.
I don't even know. I think I'm still learning.
Yeah.
But probably early on. I would say, to her account of how we met and all that stuff, I knew studying her in the sense of what has happened to her, and this is something you need to think about in relationship. Where they coming from? They ain't got no daddy. They do have a father. Those things matter because I had to learn. I had to love her through some stuff
Amen.
for where she came from. So I always knew my presence was big in her life. I didn't know it was physical touch. But low key, they connect. As she explains it, physical touch to her is presence. I knew she needed presence. She needed security. We always talk about the 3 P's of priest, provider, protector, but she needed the 4 P that people don't talk about, presence. He needs to be here. And so as we grew, I knew, okay, not only I need to be around, but I need to be a little bit closer because of the things she came from, or the lack of stuff
Amen.
that wasn't given to.
Amen.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
It's
So much to say about that, but we make it quick.
So you talked about risk, Dr. Clark. It is risky when I haven't given you permission, but now you're in. And so let's say there's an absence of me or a person speaking the love language. Is there any way to get within my marriage to get in sync with the love languages? It's jagged right now. One is, one isn't. One's receiving their love language, but the other one isn't. Is there any way to get in sync with that? Because that is that risk that we're talking about, and it can be, as you said, the bull in the china shop. It's hurting.
Yeah, and I think that in a word, the answer is absolutely. There is a way to get in sync. I think it starts going back to week 1, which we talked about, communication. And if you hear nothing else, understand this: the fundamental component for any successful relationship in any capacity is communication. If you do not communicate, you can hang up a relationship. You have to communicate. In a scenario where one person is receiving their love language and that's being met, so they're satisfied, but the other person isn't, then I think the best advice would be to do what we call in counseling forensic interviewing, which is asking so many questions about that person that you become a student of your spouse. You become a student. Scripture tells husbands this explicitly, actually. It says, Peter says, husbands, deal with your wives according to knowledge. It says according to knowledge. In other words, you can't know something that you haven't studied.
Gotta get the information. Yeah.
You got to deal with your wives according to what you know about her, which means that you have to subjugate yourself to be a student and then ask the questions. So if a person, for instance, your wife isn't, you're not getting, her love language is not being met, then in that instance, it would behoove the husband to begin to ask questions. Sometimes we think we're doing something the right way that the person likes, but they're not doing it. But they're not doing it the right way that we like it. All right? And so sometimes, and it's funny, with a lot of my couples, I see this a lot with most men, is that their pride and their arrogance they assume that they're scratching the itch. Mentally, sexually, emotionally, financially. And that assumption not only is prideful, but it's dangerous, because you are very confident that you're meeting her needs, but you're not listening to her both verbally and non-verbally. And so now, because she doesn't want to push or break your ego or pride, she resigns to silence. Not because she ain't got nothing to say, because she don't want to break you down and fracture that ego.
Well, hold, wait a minute. Because there are some people in relationships where there is the breaking, we call it nagging. What about that?
Pick up your shoe. Hang your shirt up.
What specifically? Yeah, so what specifically about nagging do you want to discuss?
No, well, okay, so, I mean, isn't it important that we understand, like you said, you become a student, you subjugate yourself to kind of see where that person is coming from, but sometimes when there's been a breach, it's being received a different way. I'm not interpreting it from that language or that love lane, if you will. I'm interpreting it as, here we go again.
Yeah. And this is why I think it's important to ask the questions. We have to allow our partners, our spouses, our family members, again, this is not just in a romantic context. You can use this stuff, it's transferable for any relationship context. I think it's important to ask a person, how do you want me to do it? You know, and I use this analogy. So everybody here speaks English. You go over to China. Imagine you going over to China and everybody's speaking Mandarin. Everybody's speaking Mandarin Chinese. You get frustrated because you're looking for, you know, hotels, you're looking for grocery stores, you're looking for all this, and you're trying to talk to people in English, but nobody understands you. And so how much sense would it make for you to get frustrated and say, everybody in China, stop right now. I need everybody to learn English so I can communicate with you. How much sense would that make? Why not? Because you are integrating in another culture. You're coming from where you are, from your background, everything that you know, and you're integrating into another nation, another culture. That's exactly what happens in relationship with people, or in a marital context, is you have to have the humility to understand that you're integrating in another culture. This person has a set of beliefs, a set of experiences, a set of different things that have shaped their worldview, their theology, all that stuff. It's all encompassed there. And so it behooves you now to go to China and what? Learn Mandarin. If you're going to communicate in China, you have to learn Mandarin. So if my wife, if I'm not reaching her, if I'm not meeting her needs, then I have to ask her, what is it that you want me to do? Not only what is it that you want me to do, but how do you want me to do it? How do you want me to do it? If my husband, if I don't have a husband, but if a woman has a husband whose needs, praise God, whose needs aren't being met, then she has to become that student and ask, how can I speak your language?
And does that work the other way? And from the man, is he allowed to be able to say that? Is he allowed to be able to say, ask the questions or share, well, this is what I'm not receiving?
Oh, absolutely. If you have an egalitarian relationship, and you should, which means just equal, everything is balanced and equal, then absolutely. And so, but is the trust there to be able to do that? And that's what a lot of the case is sometimes the communication is hampered by the lack of trust. People communicate fluently when they feel safe.
Amen.
People communicate fluently when they feel safe. Conversely, people do not communicate. They communicate abbreviatedly when they don't feel safe. They leave you a lot to interpret. So if I am in a relationship, my main number one goal is to facilitate a comfort zone for this person.
Wow.
To make them feel as comfortable as they can, because a consequence to comfort is transparency.
Can I bounce?
Sure.
So, for the person who is dating and not in marriage, right? This is why all this links together. Because my definition, well, first of all, you need to find out what your definition of dating is, because we're learning that your definition of dating might be very different than my definition of dating. So we need to first of all get on the same page of what's our definition of dating. My definition of dating is collecting data. Period. Dating.
Amen.
Data. I'm collecting information for me to process to make sure and see, do I need to waste my time with you? Do I not? What category I need to put you in? Friend zone, almost blue zone, that type of thing. So this is why this is important. We need to collect data and we need to have these conversations and we need to start learning each other. Now, that will determine how far you go. Meaning it could be a dating, regular conversation. Hey, what you like, what you do, what you do. You got kids, you don't. Want kids, don't. You think that's too much, but that's actually good information. Because if we get those simple things, we wouldn't actually go on the second one. Because ultimately, we're really dating, let's be honest, we're dating ultimately to get married.
Amen.
Well,
Let's get to the fountain of it. Life, sin has entered to alter that. But ultimately, God has put companionship, especially when it comes to man and woman relationship. Marriage is the ultimate goal, unless God has put a gift on your life to be single for the rest of your life. And there's some people who got that oil that they not getting married. God ain't put the desire in their lips. They are good. That's what they're calling it. But the 90% of us who were born, ultimately the goal is to have companionship.
Amen. Amen.
Well, in order to be safe, we need to have these conversations because most of us don't have the real conversations. So we mess around and allow people to get intimacy, have sex or whatever we do. We then set the date, we get married, have a counseling session after we made a date, meaning I've already made a decision I'm gonna get married, I just need you to sign off on it. We get married and then issues arise that never got dealt with. Let me tell you something that protected us. Some stuff she never saw because I allowed the Lord to work on it in my singleness. A lot of us don't allow the Lord, and I know we don't want to put the Lord in relationships, but doggone it, you can't have relationships
You cannot.
without talking
It doesn't
about the Bible.
exist.
Bible is life. If you let him deal with your personal issues, your brokenness, and decide and find out there's rooms that you got in your house you never saw, he can start to work on those things. So once I connect somebody else to me, she got to deal with some garbage, but there's some baggages the Lord has knocked out of the system.
Amen.
Some of us don't allow the Lord to deal with the personal person, so once we get married, I now put her in a situation to deal with the child in me that should have actually grew up before she married me.
Amen. Amen.
You won't know that.
I just want to say that because there's some people who are not married, but I'm telling you, dating and singleness is so important because there's some dating we dealing with in marriage because we didn't deal with in our singleness.
Anybody being blessed by this today?
Amen.
All right, hop up. We got questions. We're going to go right to questions. I got another question. I'm coming to you, Doc, in a second. But anyone have a question? I got some microphones. We're going to circulate real quick. Do your level best to shoot. Get right to it. Lift your hand high so he can see where we're going to go first. If you have any questions, don't be afraid. You know, and let me just say this. In the sessions that I've had, I've sat down with hundreds from far and near, couples who come from as far as Atlanta to sit down with us. I'm loving what I'm hearing, but in a lot of instances what happens is, like you said, I don't feel safe enough to share. And one of the underlying pieces is they're unsure they can get it back enough to be able to get to a place to share. And as a result, one of them, every time, and I have to go through this practice or process of trying to get them to rediscover that safe zone, to be able to open up and share. One of them shuts down. Because and you can see it. It's too risky. I can't divulge. I can't be open. I can't get to that place to share that because now I'm vulnerable and it's just going to be eaten up. I've seen it happen. It's happened too many times, pastors. You don't get it. So, what are the risks of not knowing a person's love language? What are the risks with that, Doc? If you can talk on that a little bit.
Yeah, to streamline it, one of the risks of not knowing the person's love language is them not experiencing your heartfelt love for them. You can have that love, but if they don't experience it, then they don't register it, and it's not tangential or tangible, rather. And so the relationship ends up kind of fizzing out. It's kind of like faith without works is dead, kind of thing. In other words, I can say I have faith all day long, but if I'm not actively moving, then it's useless. You can say you love me all day long, but if I'm not experiencing that love, then it's useless. Okay? So I think that's one of the risks of not communicating, not transacting that love language. It's important, and I like what the couple here said earlier, and that is not just focusing on one love language, but doing a comprehensive approach for all five of them. And maybe some that aren't listed. And this is where the value of asking those questions really comes in, being the student of your spouse and here's what we talked about a little bit in communication. I found out that people like to talk more than they listen. People like to talk more than they listen. They want to be heard more than they want to listen. And anybody who has been in a long-term relationship or marriage of any successful proportion will attest to the fact that the better of a listener you are, the better chance your relationship has to sustain.
Wow.
I'm not talking about just romantic. I'm talking about friendships. Think about your friendships, the people that you've been friends with for years. If one of you just does all the talking and the other doesn't, all they do is listen, then that's not going to be much of a friendship dynamic, because it's just going to be, oh, he's a good listener. Okay, well, what can I say about him? Well, what can he say about me? He's a good talker. But if there's a give and take, and if both people kind of pursue that value of listening, then you can ascertain intelligence and competency about the person that you're in a relationship with. So when we don't know not only just the first primary ranking order love language, but all of them in their ranking order, if we don't know that totem pole for them, then we're not competent in a relationship. It hurts our ability to be competent in a relationship and to reach the objective that relationships should have, which is I want this to be healthy. I want this to be flourishing. I want this to be productive. I want this to be fruitful.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have a relationship that's fruitful, then again, it might be time to evaluate whether or not that relationship is a God-designed relationship.
Wow. All right, questions real quick. Let's get some hands up. Don't be ashamed. Scripture said God's not giving us a spirit of fear, so don't be afraid. Share your question. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
I have a question. So what's another way that it's not on?
It should be. Is it? I think I hear it.
Did you hear me?
No, I cannot. No, see if it's on.
He said, "Can you hear me?" He said, "No, I cannot hear you."
Tap on the top. Is it there? Yeah. All right.
Yeah, there we go.
Very nice.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, what's another way to get information besides asking questions? Because what if you ask those questions, but the other person doesn't really know how to explain to you how they feel, or they don't know how to answer the question. They have it, they know the answer, but they don't know how to relay it to you. So, what can you do besides ask questions to get the information from a person?
Who was that question for? I just want to make sure.
Any
Anybody
of
on the
them.
panel? Okay.
Well, I'm looking at you, but.
Yes, ma'am. I think one of the, I don't know who came up with this term, but I think it was one of the most profound sentences or phrases in history. Actions speak louder than words. If a person won't verbally communicate to you, watch their behavior. Watch the decisions that they make. And sometimes it's not what a person does so much that tells the story. Sometimes, if you know what to look for, sometimes it's what a person doesn't do when they have the opportunity to do. Exhibit A, you give a guy your phone number. And you say, hey, give me a call. And he says, okay, I'm going to give you a call. But the brother doesn't call. It's not so much what he did, but it's what he didn't do with the opportunity to do. He had the ability to call, but he didn't do it. So what does that mean? Well, you can with conjecture, you can kind of brainstorm and kind of negotiate what that means. But if you're smart and if you're doing what the Bible says, which is guard your heart with all diligence. Because out of it flow the issues of life. If you're doing that, then if I'm a woman in that situation, and I'm saying, I don't know what that brother got going on, and I don't know why he didn't call, but guess what? That's enough for me to cut that off.
Amen.
I'm not going to leave my heart open for that because he had an opportunity to do it. Now, of course, you want to do that within reasonable time, give him a couple of days or a week, whatever your time frame is, but be rational. But also don't be abusive to yourself. Guard yourself, protect yourself, and learn to read between the lines. Not presumptively, but actually, healthily, reasonably.
Are we talking married couples or just anything?
Anything.
Okay, because actually there's a difference, depends on who we talking about. That was dope what he said. I'll give you some things that we told our couples. Some have been saved, some are unsaved. Because some, we would say, you change, I change, the Bible never changed. So we have to first of all agree there's something that is solid. But when my unsaved folk, they don't believe that. They ain't trying to hear that. All they saying is we ain't agreeing. So here's some things I've done. We specialize in performing arts, believe it or not. So I take that component and I deal with my couples. 90% of what you say is body language. Number one, what he said. Read them, watch them. Here's the second thing. I've given my couples scenarios. So for instance, if my wife don't want to say it, and I can't say it, I've given them methods, tangible things that they can do. So I'll bring a scenario. Hey babe, I have a friend who's dealing with this. And basically, she got a girl that won't do this or won't listen to her husband. But he love her, he just don't know how to express it. So I done took ownership off of her. I do what we do in theater. I've given her a character to play. People can communicate now when the ownership is off of them, but now they're playing a different character. Now she's able to tell me, well, if I was her, what I would do is boom, boom, boom. It gave me information to attack and say, oh, that's her thinking process. That I didn't even think that she thought that way. Second of all, this is the first time her explaining or expressing her feelings towards this issue, but if it was with us, she wouldn't say it. Now, that don't happen with us. That's happened with so many couples. So that's something I've helped. Others wouldn't tell you to do that. We've learned it works. When you remove the person out of their personal...
Called role
issue.
playing. Role playing.
It is role playing,
Yeah.
but we don't say role playing because people are smart and say, you trying to set me up.
Well, let me chime in if I
That's
can.
what that is. That's
Totally.
theory.
And so the Bible speaks, first off, and I think what he said is so important, you have to quantify the type of relationship you have. If you're going to have a godly Christian relationship, that's why the Bible admonishes us not to be unequally yoked. Come on, say amen. So,
Amen.
Amen. Believer, it spoke explicitly, believer with what? Unbeliever, because you're operating under a certain culture, rules, expectation. The expectation according to the Word of God, God's principle is what is called oneness. Okay? The world's principle is called performance, meaning I'm not doing until you do. When I see you do, then I'll do. Right? That's performance-based. Allow me to share, you trigger it. You trigger it. Create that safe zone, like the doctor said. Create that space for that to take place. Allow me to go to the word of the Lord. That's exactly what Delilah did to Samson. Do I need to say anything else? That's all she did. She created a place for him to share. His secret that God told him don't.
Amen.
I lost somebody right through there. Right? And so she created that zone, that space. And he emptied out. Now, I'm not saying it's necessarily from the female to the male, because it's back and forth. Amen? So from perspective, create that space. What you want done to you, you do it. I lost somebody there.
Amen.
Don't wait till it be done before you do it. No, you initiate it. And then it should come back to you. Because the scripture says expressly, you what? What you sow? You reap what you sow. Amen? I hope, did that help? Awesome. Awesome. And by the way, thank you so much for sharing that question, because that's kind of where I was going at with that risk. Because I have so many brothers, they really struggle with communicating it. Putting in the right terminology. Sometimes I have to put the wife or the person, the female, I put them out of the room and say, okay, talk to me, man. Pastor, I try to say it, but maybe I'm not saying it the right way and whatever, and they're lost. And so I gather that information and then I bring them back and I speak for them. And I try to make sure that she understands this is what he's trying to say. And I bounce right back to him and say, am I right? And he said, yeah. Finally, he's opened up enough to where he started laying it out. And then I remind him, you had it all along. Sometimes he just needs to be triggered. And I think that's what you're talking about with the safe zone.
Pastor, can I go further? This is what I found out too, dealing with people. It's deeper than that. Because the reason why he feels that way is because he never seen it in his house. Or there's issues that he has struggled with. We all respond from where we come from. Period.
That's right.
Whether you saw it on TV, or the relationships you've been in. So I am a product of what I came from or what I've allowed to adapt to me. So it's even deeper than him trying to even express to her. It's because he's never been expressed themselves. Which is why I want to tell you all, I never thought I would say this until I got older. Y'all gotta pray for each other.
Amen.
You have to allow the Holy Spirit to not only work in you, but pray that it works in the individual, because there's some access and some things only the Lord can reveal or bring the right people in their lives to deal with the deeper issue.
Amen.
It ain't just he don't know how to communicate. He's struggling himself. It's the little boy in him that's broken, which is why the man in him can't love you correctly. Come on.
Jesus.
Awesome. Go ahead. I saw another hand. I want to get these questions out real quick because we're well over our time, guys. But I definitely want to get these in while our doctor's with us.
Before we move from this, I think this is important. I'm going to kind of approach it from a psycho-spiritual Christian intersection here. What these gentlemen are talking about is so true. So in psychology, how many of you have ever heard of attachment theory? Anybody ever heard of the attachment theory?
I've heard a little bit about it.
Okay,
Talk
just
about
very
it.
generally speaking and very briefly, the research shows that people classify in four different core styles of attachment. Secure attachment, which is I'm very secure in relationships. I'm open to being able to share how I feel. I don't have any anxiety or avoidance about being vulnerable. You can accept me for who I am, warts, wrinkles, and all. That's secure attachment. Dismissive attachment is I'm not even thinking about being close to you. If you try to get close to me, forget about it. I dismiss you. The concept is ridiculous. You have fearful avoidant attachment, which is I want the intimacy, but I am fearful and I avoid it. I want it, but I avoid it. So there's this resistance but progress. Okay, there's fearful avoidant. And then the last one is what we call preoccupied. I want to be in close relationship, but I'm constantly perseverating. I'm constantly ruminating. It's always on my mind about what this person's going to think of me. So it's high anxiety. All right. So these are the 4 attachment styles. And in other words, these are the styles in which people experience close relationships. This is how they experience close relationships. So look into it, attachment theory. There's a video out. For those of you who are taking notes, you should look at it. It's called the Still Face Experiment. The Still, S-T-I-L-L, Face Experiment. It's about a 2-minute video on YouTube, more than worth your time. And here's what the experiment is. Here's what happens. They take a baby who is maybe 6 months old, 6 to 8 months old, and a mother. And the baby is sitting in the chair, and the mom is with the baby. They're talking, they're interacting. And the mom is playing with the baby. How are you? How are you doing? The baby's laughing, and they're interacting, they're engaging. And then what the experiment asks the mother to do is to shut off and be still-faced, to not give any emotion, any interaction with the child. So the mother does that. The baby notices it, starts trying to access the faculties that the mom would be familiar with, pointing, screaming, doing anything to re-engage the mother, because the child has recognized that the mom has disconnected in intimacy. The child perceives that. And then what happens is the baby, over time, when it doesn't get a response from mom, the baby begins to experience stress. The baby decompensates. It loses control of its posture. The baby begins to cry, contort, and express the emotional stress that it's experiencing physiologically, because they were connected at once, but she's not connecting anymore.
Right.
Here's the curveball. What do you think happens if mom, now in the experiment, the mom comes back and re-engages, and I'm sorry, how are you? And so the baby is now laughing and giggling again, and it patches it all up. What do you think happens when the baby, if the mom never comes back and re-engages the baby? What do you think happens? What we call classical conditioning. It's a trauma. The baby is already being traumatized because the mom is not engaging. That's where the stress and the frustrations come from. But what we call classical conditioning, and that is the baby no longer responds emotionally. It stops taking emotional risks. It stops reaching, because when I reach, I got hurt. When I reached, nobody reached back. I was in stress, and I reached, but you didn't reach back. So now I learned to cover my emotions. I have them, but I won't risk them, because when I risk them, then I get hurt. This is something that a baby learns at 8 months and earlier. If that is true for a baby, How true must that be for adults?
Wow.
When they get older, all right? So it's important. So ask those questions about, learn about that person's childhood. Become that student.
Yeah.
Because what they're presenting with may be a result of their attachment style that they've been taught, either directly or indirectly. Either directly or indirectly. They learn this behavior. Maybe they're in a household. I got a couple they're 65 years old. They've been married 43 years. Both of them are 65. He is a non-emotional, non-affectionate person. Well, wouldn't that be the case when his father was in and out of the house his whole life, and his mom, because of the bitterness toward his father, did not express emotion to any of the children? So he never learned emotion fundamentally at formidable stages. He's a nice guy. He wants to love, but he doesn't have the wherewithal because he was never given that infrastructure at the formative, primitive age that it would make sense. So it could be, if you're seeing some resistance, if you're not getting that intimacy that you're looking for, it could be because of simply a broken attachment style that just needs to be repaired and constructed.
Right. That's good. Go ahead, real quick.
I have a lot of questions, but I'm going to get on this one. What about when you're married for so long and you prayed and asked the Lord to save your marriage, which God does not like divorce, and your mate ends up leaving in divorce? I think that's the spiritual problem. What do you do? What happens to that?
I think there's a lot of variables that, and I would have to learn more about that story and that narrative. But fundamentally, very simply put, one thing's for sure: we can't make anybody stay with us. Unfortunately, we can't make anybody stay. We can fight for our marriages. We should fight for our marriages. God does not like divorce. He does not authorize it, in my opinion. And not only in Scripture, but also in His example to Israel.
Exactly.
Israel was an infidel of epic proportions all throughout the Scripture. And I often ask God, Lord, if divorce was your will, and Israel cheated with all these different gods, why didn't you just drop them and get another chosen people? And He answers it in Jeremiah. He says, for I am married to the backside.
That's right.
I'm married. The reason why I don't leave is because I'm married. So it means just one. So, but there's a lot of different reasons as to why a person might leave or what to do with that. We cannot make anybody stay with us. So I would want to learn more about that person who left and why they felt like they needed to leave, why they felt like that was the other option, what was the best option rather, and were there any other options? So there's a big variable there that we don't know if we don't have the other person. For the person who was left in the marriage, I would say the Scripture tells us that God has called us to peace. Paul says, if they be pleased to dwell with you.
Yeah.
If they be pleased to dwell with you,
yeah,
then you remain. But if they leave, then you have to let them go because God has called us to peace. That's what He called us, to peace. And so, but of course, there's a lot of other things that I would like to know about that before we can speak to that more intelligently.
Okay, this is my last one. As far as the pastor made a comment as far as leaving stuff around.
That wasn't me. That was bloody hell.
That's what I'm saying about that. What if you communicated with them and said it to them over and over again? Put the toilet seat up. Pick up your toothbrush. Lay your clothes out over. And you're steady repeating yourself about the same thing. You're communicating with them because you told them already once, twice, 20 times, and you still ain't did it. I'm sorry, Pastor. I got that.
No, you're fine.
I got your first name on that one, but
We all
that's communication.
Absolutely.
You told them.
Yeah. You hear that? Oxymoron, that's communication. I told you. That's communication. I told you.
The pastor's going to grab this one. Go ahead. They'll grab this one. If you will.
Well, first I'm going to say, you got to be careful that I'm her husband. I'm not her kid. We made a kid together. And even if you ask in the sense of how you say it, it's your tone, it's your disposition, and vice versa. It's my tone to her, or I might say something so nice, but my disposition is dictativeness. You No, I run this house. No, that ain't how I got here.
Right.
I'll let you take that.
And, okay, wait, real quick. No, please.
The toilet seat gets left up. The towel is on the bathroom floor. There's socks by the bed. There's a lot of little isms. And over time, you know what I just did? I picked them up. I put the toilet seat down. I even cleaned it. To go last all white that I left out for everybody else to do. And I even cleaned it. And I got the bathroom back to where I wanted it to be.
Amen.
I picked my battle. At the end of the day, I picked my battle. I didn't want him to rather go into the attic over in the corner of the house like the word of God.
That's the Bible now.
Rather than that, I didn't want to
It's
be.
better to be on the rooftop. Let me quote it like the Bible says. Better than to be on the rooftop.
Better be up in the
Be in there.
And-
House with the.
And I'd rather him to be in the house with me. I didn't want to be the foolish woman that the Proverbs talk about, 14:1. I didn't want to pluck the house down, brick by brick, and tear it down. So I just learned to pick the battles and really look at it like, you know what, it really is not a big deal. Like, I'm doing the laundry. However, I am reconditioning the house, so maybe I'll put one basket outside for the whites. And we start doing that.
Yeah.
And pray for, thank you, Jesus. I appreciate that. The socks were not bad at it. So over time, coming up with different ways, and my house is very animated. Very animated. So the white basket means put the white ones over there. And then I put one outside of the kids' room, so they started dropping them right there. And I'm like, look at God. Ain't this great? So just picking our battles, y'all, and being wise and being the wife that I actually was praying for to become.
Awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. Go ahead, babe. I know you want
And
to.
it takes time. She's been married for a while. It doesn't happen in the beginning. You're not naturally gonna do that. But then in a way, love makes you do any and everything. You will clean, you will pick up, because that's called love. But when a love gets old, then what? You know? So as time progresses and you're together for a while, you just learn this is what they're gonna do. You learn to clean around it, you learn to pick it up. You learn different ways of things. And they listen. I agree to everything that I've heard, absolutely. And you learn to make it work. You really do.
Let me add this one component if I can. So, Lady L pulled a sweet move. So, listen, do you look at your neighbor and tell her sweet move? So, Lady L, she shifted, and so we had furniture that was conducive to our kids. Next thing I know, I went to work. I worked a 24-hour shift. I came back. It was all gone. And all white leather furniture was everywhere with mirrors, everything.
My kids was 18 and over at that point.
And so she had gone through that period where I ain't doing nothing else for nobody else. It's going to be about me.
Amen.
It's going to be me and my husband. I can deal with him. And so I'm going to tell you something. They had to flip a switch in me because I was at a point where, wait a minute, hold on, this is my house, friend. And it wasn't about the furniture. It was about the leather, and I could now wear my clothes and sit in the leather. I couldn't even sit. Babe, please. And she was, she's so soft and kind and just so meek and low, and it's kind of hard to be abrasive when she's just so just gentle, just soft. Soft word, hungry wife. Okay, and so what I had to learn is I'm sitting in her white furniture, her leather. Get up with my ink leaking jeans. Get up. Period. And so I would just stand and talk until she said, go ahead, sit down, babe. But I'm just saying, I had to be conscious. It wasn't about me being able to say, this is my house, woman. No, because this is her time. You got what I'm trying to say, guys? Amen. So there is a give, there's an exchange there, guys. It just don't make it all about you being the man and I'm the one that make all the rules. No. A real good brother, a real good man, he understands. Listen, the one that really making this house what it is that woman.
Amen.
She's the one, that lady, that wife, that spouse. She's the one making that whole thing generate.
I'm gonna say this to you, Pastor.
And we do have a room with black leather, and it's.
Right, I forgot to tell you.
And a fireplace.
Listen,
Perfect.
you go in her bathroom, she got candles and sprays and everything.
Take care of it.
And then look, watch this, Doc. So when I come in, I got this bathroom. I just go to her bathroom real quick. Babe, you have a bathroom. I'm just saying, just like.
This is something I've noticed this invariably in couples counseling, and that's this, that when these domestic issues or any type of issues that arise in the marriage, we have one person complaining about the other person's problem or habit. I've noticed this truth, that the person who is offended, 9 times out of 10, is looking at it as that's their problem instead of our problem.
Wow, that's good.
It's their issue instead of our issue. I'm not talking about your boyfriend or your girlfriend. I'm talking about marriage. Okay, it's a big, big difference, all right? Scripture says the two became one, and that was in the context of marriage. Not your boo thing, not your shack partner. Okay, so that's the truth. It's the truth. Right? But the thing is, in the context of a marriage, wherever there is no unity, there's going to be tension.
Amen.
Any category. If it's financial, if y'all got different bank accounts, if you have separate bank accounts and you're married, I can tell you right now you have financial issues. I'll tell you right now, you got financial problems. Now, somebody who might need a manager of money and has more money may say, "Oh, I'm good." But what about him or her?
Right.
Are they good?
The partner, that's right.
The other partner
That's
who's
right.
not as good.
That's right.
Okay? And so wherever there is division, wherever we look at it as that's their issue and not our issue, that you're gonna have tension there, because a house divided against itself,
That's the scripture.
it can't stand. And whether you know you're in a house, not only literally, but proverbially speaking, in a marriage context, whether or not you know that, that's true. You are a house. Because you've become one, you've agreed, you've consented to oneness. But when that's not the perception by which you engage battles and issues, his sock is on the floor, okay? Our sock is on the floor.
Wow.
Because that's the adoption of humility that allowed her to engage and to clean that seat. It was, at some point, she said, "What's stopping me from, I can do this. I'm going to pick this battle, because when I continue to argue about this causes further dissension in my marriage." He doesn't change. He continues to leave it up. It's obviously habitual. When am I going to accept him for who he fundamentally is?
Right.
And when do I look at this as this is us and not him? And to the degree that you're able to do that in a marriage is the degree that you're able to put out fires, mitigate issues, and get back to the important stuff, which is love.
And as you said, in all areas, not just cleaning, but anything that results with you, your spouse, relationships, friendships, it's in all areas. It's an us thing. I want to make that clear. It's an
Has to
us
be.
thing.
We're going to work.
It's an us thing. When you make a decision, you're making an us decision. If there are consequences, there's an us consequence.
That's right. That's right.
So we ain't got enough time, because that our friends
Right.
piece,
Yeah.
when I was single, I had my friends, she had her friends. Now we became one. We had to learn everything that our individual lives is now becoming one.
Is one
If
too.
they were not conducive of coming as our friends, guess what? We had to cut them. You know why? Because it's about us.
That's right.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So in a situation where he has this habit and you see, okay, well, oh, she's cleaning this and it continues on or it gets even worse. Where it's like, okay, I'll just keep doing this. Okay, this is under control. I'm going to this area. Now we'll see, okay, well, it'll get cleaned up anyway. So I'll just continue on. And at what point does that start to bring up some other contention where it's like, okay, I thought we were getting a little better at this, but it just keeps going on.
One of the things that I do with my couples.
Let's make it as quick as we can. Make it quick as we
Very
can.
quick. One of the things I do is I have my couples, I get them to consent to a daily and nightly check-in. A daily and nightly check-in. And that check-in is a time for them in the morning to talk about things that are on their mind and outstanding issues with each other to maintain the relationship. And then at night, before they go to bed, to talk about things that are on their mind and ways that they can maintain the relationship. I think baseline, we can't make anybody do anything that they want to do. We can't force anybody to do anything that we want to do. Especially, like the pastor said here, I'm your husband, I'm not your child. But what we can do is we can continue to invite a person to meet our needs. That we can continue to put it before them, to talk to them, to make this a recurring conversation or a recurring issue so that they have an opportunity to come to my assistance as your spouse. It's going to take patience. It's going to take a lot of patience because that may not happen immediately. But I think in time, if you get a person, if you continue to give a person an opportunity to come to your assistance, if they truly love you, if they want to make this relationship work, then at some point that changes.
There has to be some compromise. There has to be some compromises. So if you want to make a point real quick?
Something we've given to our couple that helped our life. We've gotten a couple that both agree on that this couple can speak into our lives. This is what I mean. There's a man that she can call right now. And if I can't hear her voice, she can call him and he can check me. Watch this. I don't check her to say you went out and told our business because we both agreed on this couple. This is the two people that can call us anytime, any night, and check us.
That's called accountability. Accountability.
I was giving you the practical part of it and then put the name on it, accountability. And that's because there's some things, which I'm glad we didn't have to face, there might be a moment, I don't want to hear her voice. But a guy can call me and say, hey dog, you stink. What you said to her. And I listen because I've already agreed, this dude, we're covenant partners. I honor his voice because I know he ain't trying to sleep with my wife, he ain't trying to take my wife. He cares about our relationship. Even if we married 80 years, every once in a while, when the fire goes out, you gotta rekindle that thing. You gotta work that thing. And you need accountability. Hey, do it with your old self. You stink with your attitude. Love your wife. What she's saying is she loves you so much. Do your part. It ain't 50-50. It's 100-0. It's 100-100.
Right.
It's a 10-100.
Right.
It's 200-0.
Right.
There's moments I don't do nothing, she does it all. There's moments she don't do nothing, I do it all. There's moments we all do it. There's moments neither one of us do nothing, and the Holy Spirit holds us together.
Amen.
Ain't no 50-50.
And the person who gets the 100, they know I'm not going to screw up. Pay attention to you, right?
Girl, pay attention to it.
You have a question? All right.
Just real quick, Pastor, I just want to know, how can I get a copy of this recording so I can take it home?
It's going to be live on.
And show it to my
That's why we
husband.
wanted you guys to invite your friends, and I think what he just talked about is so important. Accountability. Now surround yourself with like-minded. Fellowshipping with people who are in the same vein, not necessarily same aspirations in terms of quality of life, things of that nature, but people you can respect and revere. They have the same standards, boundaries, similar boundaries, and things of this nature, so you can have proper accountability. Have you enjoyed our panel today? Amen. Clap your hands for this, everyone. Amen. We've enjoyed, amen, Dr. Clark. I know that there are other questions. Please, we're going to put it up on the screen. Amen. All this contact information. Certainly, we'll make sure you are available the opportunity to talk with the Hayes. Amen. If you so choose, you can chat with them, and I'm sure they will not mind sharing with you. And allow me to grab one of our. Thank you for joining us on social media. See you guys later. God bless.